start when after he talks.
Okay, boom. We should be live on YouTube right now with Arthur and Fiona Christian. How are you guys?
Well, thank you.
Very good, bro.
A pleasure to have you back again. This is part 12 of our series, The Cult of Oops. This one will be a little bit more focused on the weaknesses, whatever you want to say it. And that's it, because we were talking together before, and you sent me something. You sent me a document you posted on Facebook, and I found it very interesting. And right away, something came to me, and I'm like, yeah, for sure. The weakness, because in this world, it's portrayed that you are great and big and part of society if you go and work 5 days a week or 7 days a week, the week. So right there was like, yeah, maybe the weak one are the one who works the week, and the strong one are the one who takes time to breathe and live and observe. And I don't know. I'm not saying that we shouldn't work. We shouldn't. But in the system we're in, we kind of have no choice to go to work and bring money home. So yeah. But it's evident to me just by looking at the word. You go to work 5 days a week. So maybe you can extend. And again, all those judges, politicians, policemen, everyone in the system pretty much works the week. So what is this, Arthur and Fiona? Maybe you can demystify all this and put a bit of light on the weakness, and why you say also that the weakness is not ours.
Well, first, I just want to point out that in the About section of your video, we put the link in where there's a lot of insights that have been shared over the last 3-4 weeks, if that. And this, to us, is the greatest of all our insight work we've ever done, ever. In fact, it far surpasses everything we've ever done since we started Love for Life 2005. So those who are serious about unraveling, go and explore that Facebook link. We will put it up on DocDroid and link it into the loveforlife.com.au website. And we'll put links into the About section of our copy of the video when we put it up to the Arthur Love for Life YouTube channel. When that happens, whenever that happens. I got about 5 or 6 of your videos, mate, we haven't even put up yet, because I'm adding more to it, but I just got so many distractions going on. Anyway, so please do watch it, because we're not going to cover everything in this video. It's already said in the text. And remember, we're sharing insights. When people are new to this, just look, all you're doing is sharing pictures. We're creating analogies and metaphors using pictures to describe scenarios, not for you to get caught up in us and believe in everything we're saying, but for you to find tools you can use to use scrutiny so that you can unravel from the deep programming of words and letters and all the sentences and that have been done to us since we appeared in the womb. And that's covered in this Facebook link stuff, right? So we're mainly focusing on the weakness, and we will share insights into it. What you do with these insights is to use scrutiny. Do not believe anything we say. In everything you read about our work, believe nothing. Don't follow us. Use scrutiny and contemplate and keep going where the logic or the sense of truth takes you. Because if you do that, you will come to the truth of your uniqueness and originality that is undefined. We cannot define the truth to you. We can only show you what is not the truth, how and why it is not the truth, and how all that works. So nobody can tell you what your truth really is. So when you're listening to us talking to you through the airwaves or through the letters and words, get past that, because we're not here to condition you into our version of reality. We're just sharing you the tactics that were used by these occultists and Satanists since it all started and unfolded into ancient Egypt, where man fell into the system of the occults, the hoops that we jump through, which we talk about in the series of videos we've been doing with you, bro. So I'll pass this over to Fiona to start this, and I'll jump in whenever I'm inspired.
You can jump in now.
You can go for it.
Well, we were talking yesterday, and Arthur just suddenly said that, this weakness that many of us feel is not ours, because it comes from, the weakness is in those who invented this whole system that we have been sucked into from as soon as we appeared in the womb. And that is the weakness that we all take on as our own, because it is in everything of the system. So as we take on everything of the system as our lives and define our lives according to what has been defined for us in the system, we accept that weakness in us. I mean, most people, they have this feeling of weakness inside that they don't share, because everyone's got their fronts of confidence and I'm okay and I'm all right and I'm in control. But underneath it all, most people do not feel in control. Most people feel that their lives are, running away from them, or their lives haven't worked out how they wanted. And that says to them they haven't got control, that they've been weak in this. But it's not actually our weakness. We all have the ability right now to be totally magnificent. And you can see that, because even in the system, when you see the situations where suddenly there's an emergency or a disaster or something, and people rise to the fore, and they are magnificent. The things they do in difficult situations to save somebody's life or to help a situation or prevent harm, when they're roused, they're absolutely capable of magnificent and selfless acts. And that is the true version of who they are coming to the fore. But most of the time, unless something really powerful arouses that in us, so we act without thinking, without rationalizing, without defining, and we just go for it. And we're so powerful when we do that. We're extremely powerful. And that is why people do amazing things like hold up cars to stop someone being squashed. Really, it shows you what people are capable of. But in our everyday lives, that is not what we live the majority of time. So if we have this capability in us, why are we constantly acting out the weakness of, oh, I can't do anything about this situation, oh, poor me, the victim stuff, and my life isn't working, I've got this situation, I've got that situation, I got this, and none of it's working, and I don't like this, and complaint, grumble, groan. But so where are we getting all this from? And truly, if it's coming from those behind the system, you've only got to look at the system to see it. Everything about them is about weakness, because that is why they have to have this strong control. It is only the bully who has to exert strong control and force over the people around them, because that is their fear that they are not magnificent themselves, that they do not have the power, they do not have the strength, so they have to force everyone around them to be underneath them. And that is exactly what we see in the system all the time. We see everybody is forced under the law, and if you don't obey, you experience the force of the law. And this is prevalent everywhere. If you go to school and you don't want to sit down, and you don't want to, you want to go outside and run around, no, you've got to sit down. You're forced into compliance and obedience. And this is happening from our parents too when we're very young. Naughty, you naughty boy. Even to a tiny little baby, I've heard people saying that, you're naughty. The child has no idea what naughty is, or no intention of anything malevolent. And this is what's bred into us from so young, is this feeling that we have no power, that we have to obey, that we have to do what we're told and be powerless and look to those in control to tell us what to do. But so this weakness is not ours. This weakness is a reflection of the bullies at the top, the bullies who have designed the system and maintained the system, because they have so much fear and weakness about our power and strength that the only way they can counteract us is to keep us very strongly controlled. And as we all know, it's getting stronger and stronger. The control now, they can see on our mobile phones, they're looking into our living rooms, it's insane, the level of surveillance and monitoring upon us, which just shows the level of their fear of us, because they know who we really are. They know the strength we have, because it's in all their writings that they don't tell us, and their secrets and their history and all that. So they know what they're up against. So
all the time,
but they're terrified of that. So they have to keep us thinking we are weak. but it's not our weakness because it's actually theirs. Just like it's the bully's weakness, the bully who tries to overpower the kids in the classroom, it's weakness because it's their fear, you know, that they think they cannot be strong enough in who they are to have control of their lives and invent their lives. So they have to dominate those around them because they think they can't live any other way.
It's the weakness is doubt, uncertainty, distrust, confusion, loneliness, emptiness, arrogance, righteousness, right? Covetousness, jealousy, rage, anger. Look, every single destructive emotion you can possibly think of is a weakness. For example, when we define a child by saying that's a daffodil and that's yellow, we're actually transferring weakness to our child with intent, saying you are not magnificent. You can't magnificently work this out in your unique original way. We must influence you because we believe that we are right, righteous, right? And that means that we have doubt about our child, that we have doubt about who we are. We have confusion about who we are and what we are. We have uncertainty about who we are and what we are because it was introduced to us through the definitions as we appeared in the womb. You know, because when you define a child into a boy or girl and pink and blue and colors and all that, we're actually transferring weakness. We're instilling weakness in our children because we're not allowing them to create their unique original dream that's undefined. We have to interfere, meddle, manipulate. And that is like when you look at the rule of law. The people who uphold the rule of law are coming from weakness. The people behind the political system, anything to do with governmenta is weakness. Anything to do with the rule of law is weakness. Anything to do with religion, no matter what the religion, is weakness. Because you are not already being the magnificence that you've given up to accept the weakness of a God, when the God is already all us. We've been gifted the free will to be that magnificence, right? So when you see the enforcement of the system through bureaucracy, private corporations, public services, through the law itself and all the statute rulings that have been popping up since we went to a privatized world, you know, where we left the common law, you know, and the original ways, well, in the system still. But no matter what you have in your head coming out of these things, including entertainment, sport, all that, it's playing on your weakness because you are not already being that magnificence here and now. Like a mortgage. The mortgage is just your uncertainty, your doubt, distrust about tomorrow, about a roof over your head, about the security of what will come along down the line. So that weakness is playing out and you act as that weakness. Now that weakness came from the intentions of those who indoctrinated us through these definitions. We talk about in the videos about these UFOs that came along the oceans, right? The men with the pointy hats from the British Empire, these unidentified floating objects, all their books, they brought with them weakness. So all the missionaries, scientists, botanists, surveyors, all the occultists, all the esoterics, everything that comes from it is weakness. Because we're denying the magnificence in life all around us. It's coming from our weakness to be that and learn to find that true peace and calm in everything. So we play these power and control games. We get into all these ego trips and self-obsession because it comes from this weakness. So when you're called out to go before a judge, you're dealing with a man of weakness. The judge is weak. The man who's pulled before the judge is not weak. He's just been conned into believing that they are weak. They've been seduced into it.
Yeah, but we put all that stuff really on a pedestal, like people that own houses, like when you have a mortgage, when you have a big car, when you have, you know, we put, not me, but I'm talking the society in general, that it's very, very admire someone that has a lot of material things, a boat in front of his house.
All consumerism, Johnny, all materialism, all consumerism is weakness. Us going to nature to distort the purpose of an original life form be it the mountain, the soil, the creatures, everything that is unique and original, and going in and using our willpower to corrupt it is stemming from our weakness, because we no longer know the magnificence of who we really are and what we are anymore. So when you play with money, it is only weakness. You're not coming from strength. Going to work all your life to have money and security is not coming from a strength. It's coming from immense weakness. And that weakness is so blinding, because we don't want to see all those who are suffering in the
I was gonna tell you, if we're honest, we can see it. Like, I can see it. I can be honest with you. I see what I've done all my life. But most beings won't be honest, because this is very, very deep. Like, I've never seen really as weaknesses and stuff. You bring a good point tonight with Fiona talking about that.
We're nurturing the dark side, which is this weakness, the weakness of uncertainty, doubt, confusion, fear. And while we play with money and mortgages and leases and rent, and while we play with all these things, while we're running around talking about consciousness and freedom, we are weak. Because when we have consciousness defined to us, we are weak, because it's not our consciousness. We've accepted from someone who's spoon-fed us the idea of that consciousness. So if you accept everything we're telling you and run the mirror imaging of that kind of insights we're sharing, you'll be mimicking, and you'll be weak, because you're not actually being inspired to unravel the weakness in you and be that magnificence, because we can't lead you back to that magnificence. We can only show what it isn't and how you ended up there. So everything of the system comes from the intention of a man who decided to inculcate, brainwash, invade another man's head and become a voice in another man's head. That intention are letters and words. Behind every letter and word of all alphabet languages, including all hieroglyphics and everything stemming out of mathematics and geometry, is weakness. It is coming from the dark side. So while you work with the occult, you are in the dark side, nurturing the dark side. While you are in the law, while you accept government and rule of law, while you accept the court system, while you accept anything of the system, you are in and of the dark side, and you are nurturing it. And most of us are unconscious of what we are really nurturing here. We're just confused. We're truly confused. The civilization of progress, with these UFOs, with these men with all their books on their ships, arrived on all the lands where none of this weakness was appearing anywhere on these tribes of man and land, pre all this invasion. They all brought up in the magnificence of mountains and forests and birds and creatures of such inspiring, such amazing sensation. The children would not know what a dark age was. They wouldn't be brought up in operating in weakness. They would be operating in magnificence, and all the tribes who were inspired by all that raised their children up with nature. Let nature raise that magnificence in their children, because it was their unique dreams. Each child had their unique original dream of what it is to be a man. We don't define it. They never defined it. Right? So going back through the videos, we talked about the forbidden tree with the snake coiled around the tree with Adam and Eve. This is the occultist symbol of this weakness, where the snake is a man putting the weakness of that snake, of that man's intention, into another man, in this case Eve, who then passed on the weakness to Adam. So all the while through the progress of civilization, from the printing press, even before the printing press, through the invention of alphabet languages and mathematics and geometry and all this stuff, right, evolving into the Industrial Revolution, and from that all the technology and sciences that all came out of all of this as well, all of it stems from the dark side of weakness. And look around us today. We're being conned into believing we're celebrating the progress of civilization. Look at the devastation of poverty, sickness, disease, the wars amongst us, the cruelty, the amount of children coveting parents, and people stealing each other's wealth, and look, we could not end. It'd be like a toilet roll that would go for 100 meters of listing. This shit played out every day in our relationships while we remain weak, nurturing the dark side.
What about the hoop of substances. Okay, someone wrote, can you ask them about ayahuasca? Now we jump from oops to oops to oops. Whoops, on the way on the road, there's the oops of substances. We can name them all alcohol, cannabis, ayahuasca, LSD, all this. Why do we jump in? Why do we jump in that to feel? Often it's to have some kind of feeling that you don't have when you walk on your path. So, what is this, Arthur or Fiona?
Well, I guess it's filling a hole in many ways. I mean, a lot of people talk about spiritual journeys with ayahuasca and all that sort of stuff, but really, why do we need that to experience those sort of spiritual awakenings? You know, if we have the intention that that's what we want to do, then we'll attract what we need to do that. And it may be painful and uncomfortable, but and so then actually what often happens, something painful and uncomfortable comes along and people go, oh, I don't like this. But in fact, they're actually attracting what they need to learn the lessons they need about their weakness, about where their lives are not working in their patterns and their habits and everything. So, I mean, alcohol is just a sedative for the masses, and it's very powerful, and it ruins lives. You know, it's like there's a lot of people, oh, I can just enjoy my glass of wine or whatever, but the amount of lives and families that are pulled apart by alcohol abuse and drug abuse and all this sort of stuff is horrendous. It's just not something, and again, not something you'd ever see in nature. You know, the monkeys aren't sitting in the trees sipping on their Chardonnay in the evenings, and I know that some animals will eat rotten fruit and get a bit drunk and run around. That's been documented many times, but it's sort of a one-off. You know, it's not like they
well, we don't sense what the true purpose of what's going on there. We're just running our projections of all the brainwashing onto the animals. So and that is another form of weakness, because we're defining everything within, like we say about, you can raise a child in the system, go for a school, university, come out with degrees, and they're brilliant through microscopes and telescopes, and there they are observing reality, nature, and not a single thought that they're thinking. The whole time they're observing whatever of reality is coming from the life form. It's coming from their own brainwashing that they're recalling over and over. This is weakness, because they don't know who they really are or what they are. So when you define anything, you're transferring weakness. And those who buy into the definitions to become their perception of reality, what they believe to be the truth, that's yellow, that's blue, that's white, that's up, that's down, that's left, that's right, that's rich and poor, and on it goes, all this duality shit. It's weakness. It's just weakness. You see, the journey to spirituality is a lie. That journey is weakness, because you're already doubting your magnificence. You've already been trained to have uncertainty about the magnificence you already are. Now think, when you breathe out. Do we have to panic about the next breath of air? It's already there. Breathe in, breathe out. The sun's shining. Everything's happening. But we have doubted it so much that we're being conned into the occults and its mysticisms of weakness, where you believe you have to unravel things in your head. And remember, you've already got a her story, a history of brainwashing since you appeared in the womb. And all those letters and words that are in your head from the moment you appeared in the womb, just think of it like a sandpit. And every grain of sand is a letter and a word with an explanation, a definition, an instruction, an education, a suggestion, an indoctrination, a brainwashing, an inculcation. Every grain of sand is a big sandpit. And you appear in the womb, and mum and dad just deposit you into the sandpit and say, son, child, daughter, this is your life. And start making shapes out of the letters and words, and form the letters and words into your head. And everything that you're doing is weakness, because not a single dream that's going on there was created by you. It was created by others who enforced it on you, because they doubted your magnificence even before the appearance in the womb. And this is what we have to crack, because if we don't wake up to this, you will forever be manipulated by these occultists who rely on the weakness in you playing it out. That is a lie, because you're not really weak, and it ain't your weakness, it's theirs, because it came from their intention, enforced into your head, into your dreaming, and seduce you into believing it is the truth. Now, the depth of the sandpit, how far you want to dig down inside it, or if you want to think of it like you're a fish in a pond, and every particle of water is a letter and a word, and every letter and word is a definition, an image of a man's intention to persuade you into that man's dream, into that man's storytelling, into that man's his story or her story, his story that becomes ancient as we recall it over and over and over and over again as we grow up in the sandpit, or as we are the little fish thriving in the ocean of this alphabetical world of lies. Our head is so busy that we are no different to that kid looking through the telescope and microscope at reality, believing we've got their certificates and titles are telling us we are right in everything we are saying about what we're looking at reality. And yet not a single dream is coming directly from the life form that we are observing, because we can't sense it. We can only recall it from those voices in our heads who explain what it is that we are experiencing with our senses.
You know, with the alcohol and ayahuasca and all that sort of stuff, because I try and look at it like this. There's, like, a lot of people say, oh, I had an amazing experience on ayahuasca and it really opened me up to the, you know, that I am life and nature and all this sort of stuff. But with all things like that, I like to look as well, is it harmful, or is it not harmful to everybody? It's like having a mortgage is harm to somebody else. Because while you have a mortgage, somebody else cannot have a house, cannot have land, because that's the way the system is designed. And the same with alcohol. Some people, they just like their glasses of wine. They don't overdo it. They're not alcoholics. Their lives are not destroyed by it. So obviously they say, well, what's the problem with having some alcohol? But so many lives are destroyed by it. The same with taking something like ayahuasca or LSD or something. Some people have a great trip on it and maybe get some spiritual awakening, so they think, but other lives are totally destroyed by it. I mean, people have literally become you know, they can't get their lives together again after they've done a trip, an LSD trip or something like that. So I always like to look at, like, it's like, rather than just look at what it does for you and how you look at everybody. Is it something that is do no harm for everybody, or is it something that maybe some people are okay with, but other people it just destroys their lives?
Well, if you look at, we mentioned these videos about, like, if you want to set up the script, use the script to stage the story of Superman, right? You have to create the stage, a large stage, and you're going to need a lot of actors who have to take on the scripts of the characters that was all predetermined, so they can be on stage with all the props and settings to perform Superman and all the events that happen within that particular event, you know, the act. Right, whether it's 2 hours, 3 hours, 1.5 hours, whatever. Now, if you can comprehend the sandpit, or that pool of water being letters and words, that's actually what the script is, that we're in the system where we're playing our roles and characters. And because everything is predetermined, there's so much of our thinking and default through these thoughts going right back through this ancient history, since we were exposed to these letters and numbers and words defining our perception of reality. We can't get outside the box of this doubt and uncertainty, confusion, distrust, because all the time we're in the system acting as the name of the birth certificate, acting under land title deeds, we're actually performing the dream of the man who invented the dream of weakness that is the system, because it really is a dream of weakness, of mediocrity, and wanted every one of man to become staged as actors with scripts, performing weakness characters in a world of weakness. And that's all you do in the system lives, all day, every day, acting out weakness. When you drive the car, it's weakness. When we work with motorized transport, it's weakness. When we work with petrol and oil, it's weakness. When we work with plastic and concrete and steel and internet and technology, like all the stuff we're doing now, talking to each other, it's weakness, because it's not coming from magnificence. We gave it up. You see, we don't know how to live in the moment without the words spinning in our heads what we think living in the moment is, because if we had that true peace and serenity where no one's indoctrinating us as kids, we'd be in the eternal now, of nature, inspired moment by moment, being who we really are as that magnificence. And there's no judgment. There's no ridicule. There's no fitting into someone else's box. There's nothing preordained, predetermined, pre-divine, pre-God, anything. All this is gone because we are it. So while we have money, while we play with sense, we're actually performing weakness. We're acting as weak, the weak amongst the weak, because we gave up that magnificence. Because we've already got it all. We're already on land. We've already got magnificent nature. We're just destroying it and corrupting it in 1,001 ways, all the while we're performing the scripts of weakness. So while we are thinking that we're on the journey to spiritual awakening or expanding our consciousness through the occults and its esoterics, all the while we are destroyers and harm doers of reality, because that's all weakness can do, is offer mediocrity, meaning the magnificence of something that exists must be brought down. So we chop the forest down. The weakness, the magnificence of a man must be brought down and turned into a weak man and a wimp and a moaner and groaner and a complainer. And the whole of coronavirus plays on this dark side. The 9/11, Diana Spencer, all these events through media, there's not a single moment coming out of media, no matter what it is, that isn't playing on your weakness that you believe you've already got. You're just confused and disconnected and distracted from the bigger picture of really what is going on. So if we don't step away from this weakness, stop nurturing this dark side.
Okay, if
we will have
what?
We will have earthwide devastation. The magnificence will be brought down to such mediocrity that there's literally nothing.
Fiona said before about the substances that we should think about others before we do it or before we have a regard on it and have an opinion. Now there's something that comes to my mind right away is in our normal state, which is in the system, okay, thinking in our weakness, often we're like how they came to sell us the fact that we have to wear masks in the system but it's not for us, it's not to protect us, it's to protect others, they say. So how can they come to sell us to wear masks in our system state, but to be thinking of others? You see the duality at play there? I think that's what it is.
I think that's the only way they could get everyone to wear masks, to do social distancing, to do that, is to put into people the fear you might be responsible for killing somebody because you might give somebody COVID and they might die.
Yeah.
That's what it all rested on. It was that fear they put into us, and nobody wants to be seen to be the one who brought coronavirus to someone who then died from coronavirus.
The whole of the system, again, no matter every moment of your life in the system, is playing out on this weakness. You know, you look at all the statutes and the amount of fines that are issued from statutes. Now, we're talking about revenue raising of our fruits of labor, because money doesn't exist, only our fruits of labor, our exercising our skill sets is all that exists. And we've quantified it, you know, and turned it into commercial commodities or intellectual property. And all this is weakness because, you know, the statutes defines of say the state net recovery office, which goes into multi-billions of dollars. All the different ones are across Australia. And 99% of all Australians have not committed a crime, have not injured anybody, have not broken the peace, right? Have not broken anything that way. There's just that, oh, that man might harm somebody. That man might steal something. That man might disturb peace. That man might be a pedophile. That man might be a cult leader. That man might be whatever, right? And it goes on and on. And all this is weakness played out in our everyday lives, instant by instant. And all that commercial labor of money is gone overseas. and it's not shared in the commonwealth of the Australians. So there's multi-billions and billions of dollars of revenue raising through taxation and fines. This labour of our lives as Australians, gone overseas. But this is done to every other country. And every country across Earth is in debt. But to who? Because there's no money existing. There's no money existing. Money doesn't exist, right? Then what's going on here? Why do we have an earth-wide pandemic of weakness? Why do we have an earth-wide war amongst weakness, amongst the weak, playing out the weak against the weak, against the weak, against the weak? As you said, week after week after week.
I was going to say it again.
If someone is has, you know, they're calm and they're peaceful and they are strong in who they are, they don't worry about other people around them and who they are and how they are and what they might do and what they might not do and how they talk to them and how they look at them and how they dress and how they talk. And no, they don't care. It's only the weakness in us that has us want to push people into the box that we can cope with, because we don't want anyone around us who's pushing us out of our comfort zone too much. So that's why we're constantly judging people and trying to I can only talk to these people and communicate with these people because they're the ones who I feel comfortable with. And we become so scared. I think it's got worse and worse. You know, the old days, people used to have a dinner party and have a good old argument. You know, it was common. I say so, and big argument, and nobody minded. These days, all anyone can talk about is entertainment, renovation, and fashion or something, because all the other topics are too taboo, too sacred. Like, you couldn't sit down and have a gritty debate about racism or transgenderism or someone's religion or this or that or the other, because it would be too politically incorrect. It would be treading on people's toes. So we're becoming narrower and narrower and narrower in what we feel comfortable with and who we can actually cope with talking to, and this is our immense weakness. If I'm strong in who I am, I don't mind anything about the person I'm talking to or what they think, because it's not a threat to me and who I am, because I already know who I am. So it's not a threat to me to talk to the homeless man on the street or to the Queen of England, because who they are, like, that doesn't matter. But we have become more and more judgmental and more restrictive in what we will accept in others. And in fact, part of what we were talking about yesterday, Arthur was saying, we really have to forgive each other. You know, we have all been brought up in this culture of weakness. We have all had shit dumped on us throughout the system lives. And while we might want to grow and learn and progress, at the same time, we have to keep forgiving each other for the shit that runs us a lot of the time, as we keep learning to overcome it, keep learning to let it. And it will always be there, but it's learning whether it carves out our lives or whether it is just there, but we still carve out the life that we really truly dream for. So it's just everything's becoming so judgmental. We are ridiculously, and then you've got the people rushing around going, I never judge anybody. And then 2 seconds later, they're making a judgmental comment. I just love it. I love that stuff. But
I have a free mind.
But
it's basically, you know what it is? It's comfortably weak. What Roger Waters would say, comfortably numb. We are really comfortably weak because inside the box of the land title deeds, you're weak because you don't have a magnificent dream that can hold a dream of life so big, and that everything of that responsibility you're holding allows freedom for everything to flourish uniquely with that magnificence too.
And most of the time, we actively run away. Unless we are really determined to face the dark side within us, we actively run away from any challenges to our weakness. You know, someone coming along say, hey, you know, your situation that you're not happy about, you know, you can do this, this, and this, you know, I can help you if you want, give you a, you know, guiding hand or help you physically in some way. 9 times out of 10, people walk away from that because they prefer their weakness and their complaints and their grumbles and their judgments and their dramas.
That's why you've got to step outside of all of weakness. You've got to avoid the social battles. You've got to avoid all the social comedies and melodramas that play out in soap operas and Hollywood and media and in our everyday lives. Because if you can't step outside of all of it, you will never wake up, because all the time you remain in that comfortable weakness, you will have a defined consciousness playing out as that weakness. You'll have a defined freedom playing out as that weakness. While you play with cryptocurrency, you are weak. While you play out the dream of a better government, you are weak, already weak, because you can't hold the magnificence of everything around you and set it all free, because you doubt it. You doubt others. You have uncertainty of others. This fear and distrust and all this other stuff playing out is what keeps us in the comfortably weak state. And so while you get caught up in the arguments and debates and discussions of this and that and this and that in the system, you remain weak and lost and deeply confused and incredibly distracted, because you're actually not being magnificent here and now. Because a true man, a true magnificent man, doesn't own anything and doesn't need to, because it's got it all. Right? It's only the weakness that we play out in scripts with others who we need them to play out the game to perform the weakness script is where we get trapped in the system. So while the judge plays out the judge is the weakness calling on the weak to perform the weakness of the script of that with the judge and the politician and the economist and all the new soothsayers and all the others out there saying that cryptocurrency is a new individualism. It's not. It's individualism. You will remain broken because it's about what's in it for me. Why? If you have really woken up, why do you doubt nature and its abundance? Why are you not inspired to nurture the food forest and create such vast abundance? So and everyone doing it spreads such abundance. You wouldn't be thinking about what's in it for me anymore, worrying about tomorrow's food, tomorrow's water, tomorrow's shelter. And when you're conscious, you wouldn't dare covet another man's freedom and their space to dream magnificent dreams, because that consciousness is what makes us what we are. It's already there. It was there when you appeared in the womb. It just got distracted and covered up by this lie of weakness, this comfortable weakness. We are brought inside a crib, playing with little toys, given nappies, being told we're a boy and a girl, being told all kinds of shit that is no relevance because it's not our dreams. And those of us, we are parents who've done this to our kids, we have been weak because our parents played out the game of weakness with us. And we passed on that game of weakness to our kids. And they'll pass on that game. And all we're doing is, while the progress of civilization, the illusion of us going up, the annihilation and devastation of reality is going right before us. You see, cryptocurrency won't save you. A new government system based on sovereignty will not save you, because we all came from that in the early days of this shit. We all came from it because after the feudalism, manorialism, and all that, we played with commonwealth, and the foundation of this country came out of commonwealth. It came out of this common law. Look where we've ended up because of the manipulation of the weak, seeking the weak amongst us to play out the game of being weak with them so they can play out the game of strength that's driven by the weakness, because they doubt everything around them. They doubt everybody. And it plays out all the time. Every instant of your life, you've got a letter or a word or a voice in your head. It is weakness playing out, calling out for someone else to play cryptocurrency with each other, to play out Venus Project with each other, to play out the new world order or the all is one. If you get sucked into this all is one, you'll be all comfortably numb and dumb and stupid, being weak, because you have been got at between your ears. Because there is no all is one. It doesn't exist. It's a fantasy. And you've been manipulated and coerced and cajoled by trauma. So these people who are behind us, they're the weak ones. And they operate all through social media. They look like some of us have, like some of us and some of us are their friends. Let me tell you, they sold out because they can't afford to let you leave the weakness of the prison where you think you have your freedom, where you have your consciousness, because it was all defined. Your head is spinning with Deepak Chopra and every other consciousness book and all that stuff about quantum physics and all the science. It's all bullshit because it is mediocrity. Only a man in weakness will go to nature and carve it open to discern what's inside a frog or what's about a tree. A child who's not affected by the shit will know everything about the frog, will know everything about the tree, will know everything about the relation with everything to everything, because it's magnificent. It hasn't separated. It's not lost in the mediocrity. It's not lost in the weakness and playing out, needing another man to play out the game of weakness with them. So all through our lives in the system, we're calling out for the weak to play out the games of weak amongst us. And we call that a community. And we call that a society. We call that a civilization of devastation to our magnificence, because that's all we are really doing. So while we act as a judge, we're supporting devastation to the magnificence of what a man really is. While we act as a politician, we're calling out devastation to the magnificence of what a man really is. While we call out religion and every holy book, we're calling out the devastation to man's magnificence. And that's all we are doing, because we doubt our brothers and sisters. We doubt our children. We doubt each other. We even doubt who we are. While we play out that bloody weakness, we're in hell, because it is hell, because that's the fallen state. That's the forbidden tree with the snake and Adam and Eve. We fell from the nakedness of our magnificence, from the magnificence of what we are, without pride, without self-adoration, without self-obsession. The moment we claim that we are something, we are weak. The moment we claim anything, no matter what it is, we are weak, because you already are. Why would you claim what you already are and being? You know, this doubt and uncertainty plays out as the dark side all the time as life in the system for each of us. You only have to step back and use scrutiny and observe how this dark side plays out and how we all nurture it. And because we are nurturing it, the dark side of all that weakness keeps coming back on all of us. And that's why we see old civilizations obliterated and they're empty, because that's what happened to them. They ended up where we're all about to end up if we don't stop this. So stop being manipulated by coronavirus. Stop being manipulated by all this bullshit about the worrying about tomorrow, worrying about uncertainty. You have to sacrifice everything of your attachment to the system, all of it, and give it over to the wider community of our brothers and sisters who are waking up, and stop living in this game, stop playing this lie.
Now, I have a question for you, okay? We question pretty much everything here, and I like it like that. The fact of having children, okay? I think about it often. I'm sure I'm not the only one, but in our world that we live today, I don't like to use the word society, in the world we live today, is it an expression of weakness to have children? Why do we decide? Sometimes we don't even think about it. It happened. Is it like, I'm confused a bit sometimes. Not that I question the fact that I've had children myself, but I question a bit, like Fiona was saying before, look at others, the damage it's doing. I'm not saying that it's doing damage in my home, having children, but I look outside and sometimes it's just greater destruction brought by other beings, making other beings together and this and that. So is it an expression of weakness to have children?
It comes from the confusion of placing our good heart with weakness and believing its strength, that it is magnificence when it ain't at all. It's the confusion. We are so confused in where we are placing the good heart, the life energy of our good intentions, into the dark side that we nurture. So we have women who need children so they can get money from the government. We need people to have children so they can seem to be good people into the society around them. There's 1,001 of these kind of filling the void of the emptiness of that weakness. That is the execution of our way of life in the system all day, every day, from basically birth to death. So that's why it's happening, because we're compensating for the magnificence that we gave up. So you've got to forgive everybody everywhere. But at the same time, don't get sucked into to continue to support it. And that's why we call it kingdoms without the G. It's recreating communities where we don't live in the doubt and the uncertainty and the distrust, and where we surrender everything of the system, where the emotions of that dark side play out. So we give up land title deeds. We give up money. We use it temporarily while we're collapsing it all. But we're setting each man free from being underneath another man, because we're not meant to be underneath another man, because that's what happened to us when we got invaded between the ears through the piracy of all those who believed that they're doing the right thing in inculcating, telling us how to think and feel about everything of life. So our head is spinning with so many letters and words. And that doubt and uncertainty is the weakness that we are nurturing and believing it is the good heart in us that we're upholding and sharing when we are not. This is why we're calling in so much weakness, because weakness is destruction to magnificence. Weakness is calling out hell to paradise, right? So if you look at your life, you'll see that everything you're doing in the system is calling out destruction, calling out weakness, power tools, motor vehicles, supermarkets, shopping centers, food. I mean, people have forgotten how to look after nature for nature to care for them. They have to go to the shops. It's weakness. They don't know how to stand on their feet and be a man. They need another man to tell them what to do and how to do and what's right and wrong, and argue and fight over land title deeds and property rights and all the intellectual property over various things. And so all the laws played out. So we have all this system in place of government to govern the mind of everybody, so that the power of the weak controls the weak all around them in their petty squabbles and their petty lifestyles. And that's why they call us wards of the state, because to us, they see us as scum, useless food eaters, right? This is how sick the weak are. So watch out for everyone on the internet, through social media elsewhere, who are telling you how to think and feel, that lead you into the system of money or new alternative forms of cashless money or sovereignty money. You don't claim sovereignty. If you already are truly a free man, why would you claim it? You're already being it. The moment you claim it, you have to enshrine it. You have to create a false idol pedestal of letters and words and put a building on it and call it some authority and power to protect what you claim that you own. And then you have all these men and women, children, then have to be kidnapped from the tribes of man, brainwashed to become the blue collars and white collars, who will execute out the claims of your authority that you believe that you own, and the enforcement that you need from these authorities to protect what you claim that you own. If you're truly sovereign, you don't need another man inside your head or in your life, anywhere, ever, about anything. You don't need cryptocurrency. You don't need money. You don't need government. You don't need law. You don't need God or religion, because we are already all these things, living and being it here and now as that magnificence, if you allow to be there again. And if you do that, you would never want to covet another man's woman or another woman's man. You'd never want to be jealous or envious, because you're so enriched with the magnificence of filling your life like you breathe in every moment, living in the moment. You're never abandoned. You've never been let down. We've been trained to fall away from it. Again, that forbidden tree of the apple, Eve, Adam and snake.
And I think, Arthur, it's easy to verify all that you have stated tonight, all the stuff about the weakness, that we are houses and stuff. Just take anyone and put them in nature, directly in nature, try to survive in nature, and then you're going to see your weakness. I think that's the only probably moment where those beings living in comfort in their houses, mortgage and all that, and their nice cars, take them out of this, put them in nature with bears and wolves and shit, and you're going to see how weak they are. The weakness will show. It won't take too long. And
that includes the hostility, the fear we have about wolves and bears and tigers.
Yeah.
We have called out to them through the generations of this fall into weakness, for them to be weak by attacking us. We're inviting them to attack us. because of the fear we resonate. The scale of our fall from that magnificence, that void is where the bear and the tiger and the crocodile will come in to consume you.
And the destruction that we represent.
All that destruction.
It's like, it's not just our fear that we've learnt, oh my God, I should be scared of a bear, but it's also, we represent the destruction of their lives and their nature. So it's no wonder they're sensing hostility, fear and all this, and they think, geez, I better deal with this.
Because they sense our intentions. Yeah. They don't sense the words coming out of our mouths or the printing press or Hollywood. They sense the intention of a man. And it's in the water of our breath every time we breathe out. The nature senses it. And so they will do, we're creating a hostile world, but not only between us, but with all of nature. And with all these lies that have defined it. I mean, a child brought up in nature, not exposed to any of this hostility, this stuff, this emptiness. There's not a single creature, living thing out there that's a threat to the child, nor is the child a threat to that. In fact, they cohabitate and co-create, and they respect the space and the freedom of each other. They don't need to turn them into pets and all that, because they already are their best friends. And the child can be free to wander and climb the most incredible trees that have all been chopped down, the most amazing mountains that we've butchered with incredible mines and terrible smog and pollution and terrible things that we've done. And all those impure thoughts, all that negative, destructive emotion got nowhere to escape. So all the time we play out this, we're calling the creation of mediocrity to be manifested everywhere. So we will end up with desolation, and we wonder, well, viewers will remain to wonder, what have we done? Because nearly everyone will be gone. Because if you have gone into this emptiness and you no longer know who you are gone, and you're gone forever. You're gone and lost in that fantasy, in that light. So those of us who have truly waken up, undefined, will look at this and go, wow, it's amazing how powerful that one man can dream for weakness and want to create a world of weakness and suck every one of us to play the game of weakness in that man's dream that we call the system. That's all it is. It's just a dream. And if you want to break away from it, if you want to have a shift in true consciousness, you've got to see all the bullshit what it is and walk away, and don't allow those influences to cause you to react, recall, and work with those words, letters, things where weakness is the instructions of your life, the purpose of your life that you live as being weak, comfortably weak.
I was thinking when you talk about children, the image in the Anastasia books that parents, if they dream for a child consciously and, they prepare their kindomain, they prepare their space for the child to come into. They have the gardens, they have peace, they have quiet and calm, and the baby is dreamt for and conceived with the inspiration for that child. And then the mother stays a lot in that domain while she's pregnant, just focusing on her peace and calm and the environment and the plants and the nature in that environment and growing the food and peace and calm. And then when the child comes, it's in that environment where it's been dreamt for by the strength of the parents who've created that environment for them. And the difference in a child brought into that sort of environment compared to a lot of children who are conceived by accident. Maybe the parents are smoking, drinking, they've got their own trauma they're dealing with, even the ones who aren't drinking and smoking, and they've still got the trauma they're bringing. There's still all those influences, and we wonder why children are going more and more, what we say, out of control, although it's not really out of control. It's just as more and more children seeming to be they're coming into this world and they're just going about everything, because they too are, they're very sensory beings and they're like sponges. So they're sucking in all this darkness, and it's no wonder they're, acting up and not complying and not doing the right thing. That's all the energy they're sucking up. So the outcome for a child coming into this world compared to one that comes into a carefully inspired and created domain where every intention is for there to be peace and calm and abundance and joy and nurturing, is huge in what it does for the child.
Life in the system is all about the performance of weakness. Going out looking for sex, having different partners, going into orgies and all that is weakness. It's truly weakness, because that magnificence that you could already be and be fulfilled would not need to be played out in sex. So each day you wake up, I'm looking for my next event, my daily event of weakness, going to work, driving through peak hour traffic, going to the shopping centre, watching football, playing out fashion at supermarkets and shopping centres and stuff. Look, there's not a single facet, like driving kids to school, to preschool, day care. We are actually performing the ritual of weakness, and then we go to bed in a house of weakness, and tomorrow we wake up the next day of weakness, and we turn on the internet and we listen to the media and we read the newspapers and we play out all that weakness while we're going to work, and then we might sit at the coffee shop with some other girls or friends or whatever, and we talk about all kinds of stuff in between dropping kids off from school and picking them up from school and doing shopping, and we discuss weakness and weakness and weakness and weakness, and we're nurturing weakness and weakness, and the whole lifestyle is supporting that weakness, because you're supporting destruction, because your life in the system requires destruction to other men and women for you to have what you want from them, so you can run around in the facade, in the facade of being, I've got a home, I have security, I have money coming in for tomorrow, when all of it was embedded and rooted in weakness, in doubt, uncertainty. And it needs other men and women to play out the weakness game with you. So then you sit there and you complain and bitch and moan and groan about, oh, why can't those people get together? Why are those people poor? Why can't they just get up and go to work? Why can't you? Can't, because the duality of the dreaming calls for weakness amongst us. So many actors have to come forward to be the weak, that they will then have their fingers pointed at by those who want others to be weak, so they can actually be caught up in the ritual of what we call a society. We call in the confusion and chaos of war, or the theaters of war, because the war really is our everyday lives in the system. It's a theater of war. It's not coming from magnificence. It's coming from rape, pillage, and plunder, using and abusing and depending, and also being blind, not wanting to see the bigger picture, what you're calling out for, in all those who will be inculcated to play out the weak game with them. Hence blame, righteousness, arrogance, indifference, ridicule, abuse. All this is part of that game. And you can't end it like this. You can't rely on the system to get you to pull out of it. There's nowhere inside the waking up and going to bed, the week after week of playing the next day's events of weakness, are going to lead you out of it. You're going to just get more and more of it. And all that you can do, all the time you are confused, day after day, in your suburban lives, in your city life, in your office lives, in your lives of wealth and all that stuff, you are calling out for the absolute devastation of all of man. Good, that's all you can do. That's all it can go, because the dreams that we hold can't escape anywhere. We are the true power, and we call it amongst us, because we're the only ones who can process these dreams. We fulfill them, or we walk away from them and let them settle and never repeat these same mistakes. So going back to that Facebook link in the About section of your video, which we'll put up when ours goes up, there's a lot of other insights shared that relate to this theme. And to us, I think we're coming to the end of this, I guess. We're coming to the end. This is probably the last we're invited to do one other video with another guy on another Facebook wall, and we'll do that, and that may be the end of all this. It may be just a repeat of what we just discussed today. If they want to still go and interview us. But all I'm stressing the point is, wake up to this weakness. I must also stress the point, this is just something for me here now. Going back for the last 3-4 years, what happened in Facebook with Jabba, and then recently with Adrian Larry, and other people like that, it was weakness in them calling out the weakness in others to play out the game of weakness to attack this man, who was never a threat to any of these people. And they tried to accuse this man of being a cult leader and a cult figure. It was all fabricated bullshit. It was just simply people who were weak, who couldn't take responsibility for their weakness, and trying to blame others for their sufferings, right? Because that's how the weak play out. So why I'm saying this is that we have to all walk away, we have to forgive, and we have to be able to truly stand the ground as a man, as the kingdom man, and inspire others to give up the system of this weakness game and return to the true one of magnificence and learn. And that's all we can do. There is nothing else to do, because everything else is a lie. The journey to consciousness of the afterlife is a lie. It truly is a lie. Because if you're not already magnificent now, right? It's because you believe that you're magnificent now that you need a God to fill the void of that loss of your magnificence. It's only because you've given up that magnificence that you believe that you are sovereign, that you believe that you have freedom, that you believe that you have consciousness, that you're going to create a new world around this kind of consciousness. But let me warn you, no matter what the system's on offer that's going to sound wonderful and rosy to you out there, it is the system, because men and women had to be brainwashed, educated to become the role players of that weakness, of that alternative remedy on offer. And I think Peter Joseph, who created Zeitgeist, got a new film out now. I've got what it's called right now. That is a classic example of the psyops, no different to Venus Project, no different to David Icke and all the bullshit David Icke dribbles. And I forgive David for all this crap that he pushes out there. And everyone else out there who are behind this scam. It ain't a remedy. We already got it. We are already of it. The original dream is magnificent. Stop calling out your brothers and sisters to play out the game of weakness with you. So that's why you want cryptocurrency, so you can play out weakness game with you. That's why you want government to call out brothers and sisters to play out the game of weakness with your brothers and sisters. So you create chaos to have order, but all of it on all sides is weakness. You can't win. There's no answer to this in that way. You'll never find it. You can never find a remedy during the time man's fall into weakness to bring us back to magnificence. The only way is to step away from it and already start being it, and stop passing that responsibility over to others for you to be magnificent. You be it, just like you breathe. It's already there. You don't have to jump 10 foot across the room to grab your next breath. You don't have to wait for the sun to shine somewhere, somehow, in that way. And we create all the weather. We create everything that's happening to our experience is created by our dreaming. The reason we're seeing so much going wrong is because we're dreaming mediocrity. We're dreaming such weakness. And there are scripts within scripts within scripts within scripts within each story, his story, her story. We're all sucked in each moment of every day, waking up and going to bed, waking up, going to bed, being weak, for a whole lifetime of weakness.
You forgot we're sucking the thumb too.
Spoon-fed. We're all spoon-fed. So we've got to stop being spoon-fed. So when I say, please follow us, that we're cult leaders and we want you to create a kingdom with us and celebrate us as your new leaders. No, we're saying that we're wisdom keepers. We can see the shit for what it is, and we will nurture others to wake up to that shit so it doesn't play out amongst us, so that every man has the opportunity to return to that magnificence and be responsible to never give it up again. And if we do that, not a single emotion will play out. So walk away from land title deeds. Walk away from ownership. Walk away from money. Walk away from any form of currency. Walk away from any religion or any God, because they're all lies. Because the true God, the true creator, is already in all of us, but we fell asleep to it. We turned our backs on it. We were gifted it freely, undefined.
That's it.
There's nowhere to go to find and fix this. There's no other planet we're going to get to get us away from this mess. We have to stop running away. Stop blaming everybody. Stop wrecking everything while we're wanting to run away while we're wrecking everything. Stop the addiction to chaos like a heroin addict. You've got to go cold turkey now. You've got to go cold turkey to the system. You stop got to sucking up to another hit of emptiness and weakness and doubt and loneliness and fear and distrust and rage and oh, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. How am I supposed to fix this, Arthur? How are we going to sort this problem out, Arthur? You already got it. Don't you want to wake up to it? You know what to do. You're just doubting it. So stop nurturing the dark side. Stop nurturing all these things.
Thank you, Fiona. Again, very appreciative of your presence here always, and I hope again in the future we can get together, maybe on other topics. I have something to propose you. I'll write to you maybe in a few months We can put something together, let you work on your gardening projects. I see you're involved a lot into the building beds and stuff. So it's your season now. Summer is at your door very soon.
Well, it's land. We're moving. Hey, Johnny, we're moving to land. Sorry, I had to cut you there. Where we don't even know where the land is. We're just living in the moment. If you go back to the other videos, if you look at that link that we put up in your about section, you'll see a few Facebook links of videos we've been put up only very recently, and so and also the articles there. I copy pasted all together to one thread. You'll see that we're not living in fear. We're living in the inspiration of brothers and sisters awakening to magnificence, who want to gift over the land title deeds they've got, who want to gift over all their ownership and bring it into a kingdom dream that we're holding as caretakers, custodians, to make sure that the real traditional ways are returned, where everything is undefined, where no one's underneath anyone anymore. And that some of us will be those wisdom keepers to help nurture, even if it means baseball bat, even if it means kicking someone's butt, to wake up, get out of the ego trip, get out of the self-obsession, get out of this crap. Because that's how we fix it. So you got to know, you got to sense each other's intentions and why we're doing this. So those of you who watch these videos, our intention is to recreate the true ways, the way it was dreamt for all of us to be, and not live the lie of emptiness and weakness and all that mediocrity that's played out. So that's what this is all about. So start, you know what they say, don't shoot down the messenger, sense the intentions, work with the intentions, and come forward. Drop what you own. Your $5 million property is worth nothing. Drop it, let it go. Give it over to the kingdom dream. Your $1 million in your bank account, drop it, let it go, give it over to the kingdom dream, because we'll transmute it back to nothing, while the freedom of man lives in the magnificence of what was coveted by the lie of this weakness. So use the system to get out of the system in this life, but we don't pass the baton on to our kids, so the emptiness carries on to the next generation. And doing that, we've ended the apocalypse. We've ended the devastation of life, of the dream of life. We've ended all these dark ages and Nibiru coming to wipe us all out and all this other doomsday stuff. We end it all because we dream it that way. We say so because we are it. We're the only ones here. We're the only ones here.
Okay, we're out. I have to leave in like 12 minutes, so I have to prepare. But thanks again, Arthur and Fiona, and we talk very soon. And large up everyone in the chat and the ones that were watching live. And this, of course, is published on the TruMon Show and will be on the Love for Life YouTube channel also sometime soon when Arthur gets to it. So large up, we're out.